Welcome to the kitchen. Today we are making the easiest ribs you will ever make, and we're making them in the Instapot. They're easy, delicious, picky eater proof, and the entire family is gonna love them. Hi, I'm Leanne from YourHomeBasedMom.com, and today we are making the easiest, most delicious, fall off the bone tender ribs you've ever had. Now, if you've never made ribs before because you thought they were too hard, too time consuming, get ready to have your mind blown. Let's get started. So for today's recipe, we need a rack of baby back ribs. Now, baby back ribs are also known as a pork rib, a loin rib, or a pork loin rib. They're actually a little bit different than a spare rib in that they're not as long as a spare rib. Now, when you buy your ribs, they may come with a silver membrane on the back side. If they do, you're gonna need to remove that. And to remove that, you just take a sharp knife, kind of stick it under that membrane and lift it up, and then with your hands you can remove all of it. So make sure and remove that membrane if it's there. The other thing you want to do is you want to take a paper towel, and we just want to blot the ribs dry so that we have a nice dry surface to work with. So we're going to start by making a rub, which you're going to rub on both sides of the ribs. Now, this may seem like a lot of ingredients, but they're pretty standard kitchen pantry ingredients that I'm pretty sure you probably have on hand. We're going to start with 1/3 cup of brown sugar. Then we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of paprika, 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika, a tablespoon of onion powder, a tablespoon of garlic powder, and a tablespoon of sea salt. Then we've got 1/2 tablespoon of black pepper, 1/2 tablespoon of chili powder, and a teaspoon of cumin. There's a lot of amazing flavor going on in this rub. We're going to mix it all together. Get all those flavors incorporated. And now comes the messy part of the job. We're going to take this rub and we're going to just sprinkle it over the top of the ribs and pat it in. You want to make sure that it has a nice coating all over the ribs. Now, I had to cut my rack down because I actually couldn't, they were in my freezer, and in order to fit it in the freezer bag, I had to cut them down, so that's why my rack is in 2 pieces. Then we're going to flip it over, and we're going to do the same thing to this side. All right, we're ready to put our ribs into the Instapot. I am using a 6-quart Instapot, and I'm using it with the trivet inside. The trivet's gonna make it easier to remove the ribs at the end because they are gonna be so tender and falling apart that unless they're on the trivet, they can be hard to get out in one piece. So before we put in our ribs, though, we're gonna put in our liquid because we always need to have some liquid in our Instapot. And I am using 1/2 cup of apple juice and 1 cup of water. And then the secret ingredient that's going to help them taste like they've been smoking on a smoker all day is some liquid smoke. Now, this can be found usually like on the condiment aisle of the grocery store or near the barbecue sauces. And this stuff is pretty potent and powerful. You don't need a whole lot. We're only going to use 1/2 teaspoon of liquid smoke. All right, just add that in. You're going to smell it. It smells so good. All right, then we're ready to add in our ribs. Now, to add in your ribs, you want to line the inside of your Instapot. And we want the meaty side of the rib facing towards the middle of the Instapot so that the bony side will be up against your pot. We're going to fill those in. There we go. And all we have to do now is put on our lid. All right, let's get the lid on. And we're going to put it on manual high pressure for 25 minutes. Do a 10-minute natural release and then release the rest of the pressure. We want to make sure our valve is on sealing, not venting. All right, our 10-minute natural release is up. So we're going to do a quick release for the rest of the pressure just by switching that from sealing to venting. And we're gonna let the steam come out, so step back. All right, you'll know it's ready to open when that little metal pin right here has dropped down. All right, now we're ready to take them out of the Instapot. And remember, it's gonna be hot, okay? So that little trivet in there, maybe let it sit for just a minute to cool down, but I like to use a pair of tongs to grab onto it and then grab onto the other side. It's usually not too hot that you can't handle it. And just pull them right out onto my baking sheet. Then we're gonna undo them and just lay them on to the baking sheet. Get rid of that trivet. Okay, the next step is we're gonna lather them with the barbecue sauce and be really generous with this. Now you can use your favorite barbecue sauce. I'm a fan of a Sweet Baby Ray's. And so we're just gonna take a brush and we're gonna brush both sides of the ribs. And then we're gonna flip them over and we're gonna do it to the other side. All right, then I'm gonna turn them back so that they are the meaty side up. Maybe put a little bit more on. I'm also gonna put a bowl of barbecue sauce on the table so that people can have a little bit more for dipping if they like. And then these are gonna go under the broiler just for a few minutes to let that barbecue sauce set up, kind of caramelize, and get nice and gooey. All right, our ribs smell delicious and they are ready to eat. That barbecue sauce has set up really nice, and all that's left to do is we just need to slice them, and you just slice them, just cut in between the bones. And they're gonna cut really easy because they are so nice and tender. Now, our favorite thing to eat these ribs with are some smashed potatoes, some roasted veggies, some roasted broccoli, and some cornbread. And I'm gonna put links to all those recipes down below so you can check those out. And we're ready for the taste test. Of course, ribs need to be eaten with your hands. So good. A little messy, but worth the mess. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen today. You can find the recipe for these Instapot ribs in the description down below. And be sure to check out all my other recipes and Instapot recipes by clicking over here. And of course, I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel by clicking down below and turn on that little notification bell so that you'll be notified every time a new video drops here on YouTube.